It'd be funny if you told people I'm a minimalist trying to live life to the fullest in a maximal way.
I think of myself as an essentialist, right? I like things that, again, comfort, convenience, or beauty. I have art on the walls in my apartment, and I mean, it doesn't serve a purpose other than it makes my life richer and engages my imagination and is beautiful, but it's not the same as a plunger or a blender, right? Those are functional tools that live in my home as well.
Have you coached people that have become minimalists, and does it help them or does it make them unhappy? Like, have you seen examples of that, or have you coached people that are hoarders and they really have a psychological hard time with letting anything go?
Oh, yeah. I have worked with, I wouldn't say many, but I've worked with more than a few people who have hoarding tendencies and hoarding disorder. Yes. And again, if they are interested in change, then they can improve. There's a degree of pathology. I'm not a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist, so I can't do clinical work with them in that sense, right? But I can coach them on behavioral changes. They will need additional support from somebody around the pathology because that's not my wheelhouse. And on the other side, for people who want to be minimalist, I mean, I have people in my community and among my students and people who work with me. There are people who are minimalists, aspire to be minimalists. It all comes down, for me, to this idea of, is the focus, and this is one of those things about Marie Kondo's work, is the focus on the stuff or is the focus on you? And in my world and in my approach to this, I'm interested in changing how you think, feel, and interact with stuff. I'm not as interested in taming the clutter. The clutter will get tamed, but if you think about it, if you don't change, if your relationship with things doesn't change, it's this pair of shoes or that pair of shoes, but it's still a pair of shoes that's getting your attention. And if we think about in the bigger picture of your life, how much time, we're here for a limited amount of time, how much time do you want to spend in a one-sided relationship with an inanimate object rather than in intimate, dynamic relationships with people, with plants, with companion animals, experiences? In my experience, in my life, the juice comes from relationships with things, I'll call them things in a reductive way, that reciprocate my affection. So pouring all of my affection into my computer desktop or my mobile phone, the phone is not reciprocating my affection. It's not saying, oh, the way that Andrew holds me in his right hand is so tender and gentle. I'm so lucky that he brought me home from the iPhone store. It's not happening.
Okay. As people go through the process with you, what do you notice about them psychologically? Like, do they reach certain common milestones, or do they have points where they freak out, or they don't like it, or they resist it, or I don't know, like difficult points in the journey, or is it pretty smooth?
It's similar and not exactly like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, right? I think most people, if we think about a bell curve, there's some resistance, there's an attachment to your own beliefs and your own way of doing things, even if they are inefficient or ineffective. They're still what you know. And as you adopt new behavior, momentum starts to build. I often say failure breeds failure and success breeds success. So the more successful you are in changing your behavior, adopting these new habits, there's momentum that is built up, and you become more enthusiastic of, oh, I actually do see clear surfaces in my home. I do feel better. I'm less stressed out. I'm less anxious. I don't worry as much. I know where to find the things that I'm looking for. I'm not wasting time. This is awesome. I want more of it. And it tends to build on itself. So as we think about that bell curve, and then on the back side of it, as you're descending it's things are working. So there's less friction as you're going down the curve. It's like, oh, and I can do it here and I can do it there, and look at this, and that's even better, and now I can do this, and all of those things that I had been procrastinating on or putting off, I have time to dedicate to them, and I have less resistance to it because I have greater both confidence in my own abilities, and I have greater competence as well. I can feel the sense of, if not mastery, at least proficiency.